Pandit Nehru had a strong dislike for rats, the most common of all creatures. He had a distaste for these small rodents for their dirtiness, filthiness, and verminous ways. Nehru considered rats to be an insult to humanity, and he was highly critical of anyone who kept or protected them. He advocated for their extermination whenever possible. According to Nehru, rats were not only a public health menace, they were also dangerous due to their habit of spreading various diseases. He believed that rats were destructive to the environment, as well. Nehru's dislike for rats was so strong that he advocated for their extermination in any place where they might be found. It was his view that rats had no place in any society. His dislike of rats was so strong that he advocated the strictest measures against them, including poisoning and setting traps. He even advocated for shooting them as a last resort. He wanted to make sure that rats were not a problem that could persist again. He believed rats were a serious problem to any civilization and should be removed as soon as possible. His views may have been somewhat extreme, but Nehru was a firm believer in getting rid of rats whenever possible. He saw these creatures as a threat to humanity and advocated getting rid of them. According to Nehru, rats are a menace which should be eradicated at all costs. He was particularly critical of those who welcomed or even kept rats in their homes or shops. Pandit Nehru was a firm believer in controlling the population of rats, and he saw them as a health hazard and general nuisance, something that could disrupt the well-being of society if not kept in check. In his view, any person who dares to keep or protect rats in their homes should be punished for their act of negligence. He thought that people should take more responsibility towards controlling the population of rats. As part of his view on rats, Nehru advocated for stringent measures to be taken against rats. He wanted people to understand that these creatures were not the only ones that needed to be feared. His strong view was that rats were a menace to society that needed to be eradicated as quickly and as safely as possible. Pandit Nehru wanted to make sure that rats did not return in the future. In his vision, he wanted a society free from the menace of rats, a society where there would be no sight of rats, and most importantly cleanliness and hygiene would remain maintained. This was the most important thing for him, that cleanliness was of extreme importance and that it should be maintained at all times. Nehru wanted a rat-free society. According to Pandit Nehru, rats were a serious threat to human life, health, and hygiene. He believed that these creatures were pests and should not be tolerated in any circumstance. Rats can cause serious risks to human health and can spread diseases like bubonic plague, murine typhus, and salmonellosis. This is why Nehru wanted to implement strict policies in the control of rats. He was vocal about his beliefs and wanted the people to be aware of the hazards of rats and to take the necessary precautions against them. He was actively trying to spread the knowledge about the harms of the rat population. To add to his disdain, Pandit Nehru had witnessed the damage rats can cause due to huge influxes of them in certain parts of the country. He saw firsthand the suffering and devastation rats can bring. Nehru was opposed to those who kept and fed rats, believing them to be negligent and irresponsible. He also believed that rats should be eradicated before they could cause further harm. He was suspicious of those who kept and protected rats, believing them to threaten the environment and human health. To prevent these creatures from damaging the land and people, Nehru wanted them removed or destroyed. Nehru believed rat populations should be regulated, and he was adamant that this was necessary in order to protect public health and safety. He wanted strict laws to be imposed on those who kept rats. He also believed that rat traps, poisoning, and extermination should be encouraged in order to curb the population of these creatures. He did not support keeping any kind of rat in any way. Rat control was necessary in his view in order to keep the population of rats under control and to avoid any spread of diseases. He was an advocate for effective and efficient measures in the prevention, control, and extermination of rats. Keeping rats alive and not killing them just to make money was something he strongly opposed. He felt that these creatures should be kept in check and controlled via effective and efficient methods. Nehru was determined to make sure that everyone was aware of the dangers of rats, and to ensure that the population was kept in control. He wanted to ensure the safety of people and the environment from the dangers of rats.